I'm Richard Pyatt. This is EOS Traction for your workplace goals. Michele Mollard is a certified EOS implementer. We talk about some of those workplace goals for which maybe you don't quite have enough traction, and the EOS process that helps turn that around. Hello, Michele.
Hello, Richard.
Today, we're talking about the 10 commandments of decision making and how that helps you get unstuck in business. It sounded like an epic motion picture, but really it's only 10 things that we should consider when we're talking about decision making. What do we really mean?
So, Richard, I love when you said that's a motion picture because this could be. This is literally your motion picture of how you get your business unstuck. So building the skill set of the ability to decide is a real thing. There are so many times where I speak with leaders and they're like, Michele, I just can't decide. And so these are the 10 commandments. And I think, Richard, you'll have them in the show notes because it's a lot. But those of you that are listening, if you're driving, please pull over. But if you are near a pen and a paper, I'll go through these and then we'll take them one by one or a little bit of a grouping. Some of them can be grouped together. But the 10 commandments are this: thou shalt not rule by consensus. And then it always is thou shall, right? And so that just goes thou shall. And then not rule by consensus is the first one. I'll go back to this one, so bear with me. Not be a weenie. That's what it says. I promise you, this is the EOS way. And so there's a little bit of funniness and a little bit of not so serious world. The third one is be decisive. So thou shalt be decisive. Thou shalt not rely on secondhand information. Thou shalt not fight, or thou shall fight for the greater good. Thou shalt not try to solve them all, which is key. You shall live with it, end it, or change it. That's one. So that is one commandment. Live with it, end it, change it. Choose short-term pain and suffering, because sometimes we make decisions that linger on and it's long-term pain and suffering. We shall choose short-term pain and suffering. We shall enter the danger is the 9th one. And the 10th one is take a shot. Just take a shot, and I'll explain those all to you. So all of this is the idea of being able to decide decisions, that we make decisions. It's a muscle. And so many teams don't believe that it's a muscle. And so the better that we can get at this, the more work that we can do. When you don't decide, you're not using that muscle. And so decision making gives it clarity, gives it courage, and gives you practice, right? And so we've got to be able to do that. If we can make decisions, it will give clarity. We will try. They'll take a shot. If we take that shot and we learn from it, then okay. We got more clarity. That didn't work is clarity, right? And so sometimes we want to always go in the right direction, but sometimes we can't. And sometimes it has to give us clarity, right? I'll go back to the thou shall not be a weenie, right? Because I know some people, it gets a little derogatory on there. But it's courage. It's just courage to take a shot. Thou shalt try to do something, and that we hesitate out of fear. We hesitate about being wrong. And all of that is all about the U-turn. It's like, okay, you made a decision, it was wrong. Oops, right? And again, we've talked about this before. You know, if we hang up the blind wrong, no one dies from it. We just have to fix it. But then we learn from it. Don't do that again. In this circumstance, I learn, right? And so as leaders, we have all those things. So I wanted to pause there. I know I kind of just started jumping into some of them, but I just wanted to explain those few because those are probably the two, don't be a weenie and take a shot, that are the most unclear as we go through there. So
yeah, I think my favorite, and I'm jumping ahead, is thou shalt live with it, end it, or change it. I mean, it really can be as simple as that.
It is as simple as that. Commit, try it, and then if we're wrong, we adjust, right? And so sometimes leaders, we will have a conversation in a room and everybody nods their heads and not everybody is agreeing with it, meaning that they verbally commit, and when they leave the room, they don't. And so the leadership team has the ability to do that, is truly commit live with it or change it, right? Or end it, excuse me. Live with it, end it, or change it. And so we make the decision, we live with it if we don't, right? Or we end it, right? Make a decision to end it or make a decision to change it, right? And so those are the three things that all issues fall into, really.
Take your pick. I imagine, though, some folks get to that. I equate it with like being on the end of the diving board, I'm going to jump, but they can't quite get the momentum to make the decision.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens then? How does EOS make that clearer for the decision to be made?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of things that we put into place. There's a lot that I don't want to scroll off too far, but there's a lot of things that potentially we're making a lot of decisions from an emotional standpoint or from an ego standpoint and not with enough data, right?
Yeah,
And
sure.
so rule by consensus, right, sounds noble, right? But it's mediocrity. What do you think? What do you think? Okay, we'll do it what everybody else likes. And that might not get us where we need to be. And so, again, you're asking what does EOS put in place to be able to do that is we want ideas from everybody, but somebody has to make the decision. And in our world, the integrator, if there's a tie across the leadership team, the integrator makes the call. We make the call, we make a decision, we change it, we live with it, we end it, whatever that is, right? But we are always making a decision. So that's the underlining factor of when we teach these 10 commandments to our teams is this is what you need to believe in order to move your organization forward. And so they all come into play kind of all the same times as we go in there and just kind of wrapping our minds around that making a decision is giving clarity, even if it is the wrong decision. It is the courage to do it and the practice, the muscle memory to be able to make these decisions.
All right. Thou shalt not rule by consensus. Did we cover thou shalt not be a weenie enough?
Yeah. Right. I love it. Yeah, it's just the worry, the fear of being wrong. Don't worry about it. Right. And the team knows, again, this open and honest culture that we teach about EOS, or if you're not running on EOS and you're listening to this, how do you start building that? And then going, guess what? I was wrong. Oh my goodness. Right. Like I was wrong. So what? Right. So then say, hey, team, I made the decision. We talked about it. We all agreed. I made that decision and it was wrong. So now what, guys? Now we have how do we do it, right? And so again, when that team is involved in that, they're feeling great about that. They're not worried that you were wrong. You're not a machine, right? And humans are wrong, and we just have to own it and move on. And that's what that's getting to, right? Is just make a decision.
And there is a segue right there to thou shalt be decisive.
Yeah.
It's decisiveness you're talking about.
Yeah. There's a really great, I'm looking down at my sheet that's really great. It says, most bad outcomes aren't the result of a bad decision. They're a result of indecision. It's really a great one to wrap them.
Yes. Yep. It's funny you said that because when we started this, when Michele and I connected on this call, I made a comment about the show The Sopranos. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite lines from that is from who I call the great philosopher Carmela, who said exactly what you just said. Mm-hmm. They're thinking about buying a house at the beach, and they can't make up their mind. Their kid's going to college. Should we spend this money? And she says, more is lost by indecision than the wrong decision. You just said it.
Absolutely. The same thing. 70% of good decisions made today, it beats a perfect decision later. Right? Like, let's make it today as opposed to waiting until it's perfect, right? So I'm always talking about progress over perfection. Again, that's progress. It's make a decision towards progress. We're not perfect. We'll never be perfect. And every decision can't be perfect. And every decision can't make everybody happy. Hence, don't rule by consensus.
Yeah. Yep. They all are woven together, aren't they?
They are all woven together. That's why we teach them all together.
Yeah. Here's one that appeals to the ex-journalist in me. Thou shalt not rely on secondhand information. How does this relate in your world?
Yeah. So again, get to the source. Ask the questions. Don't assume. We all can remember what that definition looks like, right? And so we're saying, oh, well, Betty Sue or whoever said this. And it's like, did she? Did she not? Right? We don't really know. And so verify the facts and build those decisions on those things, right? Ask the questions, get to the source, verify the facts, no assumptions, That can't be built that way. And so we have to understand that, right? And really understand that this isn't about drama. This isn't about, right? Let's not keep breeding that in the organization I just want to bring this up to stir the pot. Let's not
This
stir
isn't
the
about
pot.
drama. This isn't about drama. That's where the Sopranos comparisons end.
Yes.
Thou shalt fight for the greater good.
Yeah.
Clarify that.
Yeah. So this is where we were talking about decision making, right? This is going to come a little harsh. Check your ego. The greater good is not always what you need, right? Even as a leader, even as an owner, I tell my owners often, what's the greater good? Now, we use tools in EOS to help them define the greater good, which is that vision traction organizer. So if you haven't heard that, there's plenty of podcasts on that. But once we define where we're going and the vision that it is, everything is filtered in there. And sometimes we're like, oh, but I would really like that. Yeah, but that's not going to help Richard's team. That's not going to help the organization get there. And so we've got to fight for the greater good. So decisions have to be made with that mind. Decisions that are made in isolation rarely help, right? The organization, they help the individual. And so we just have to be aware of that as we're going through the decision-making process.
Whoa, let that one sink in. Decisions in isolation. Wow. Thou shalt not try to solve them all.
Yeah, this is a hard one for leaders. Not every issue should be solved. And then how do we wrap our heads around that, right? What I'm trying to get at is prioritizing them. So if we have 10 issues that we need to solve, solving the priority, the greater good, see how it feeds up, right? Secondhand information, like this is all just massively intertwined into each other. But it's not worth the energy because it doesn't matter right now. It doesn't mean it doesn't matter, right? So if I have my sales numbers are completely off track and I have a decision to make about the holiday party, I want to, from a fun standpoint, decide about the holiday party because it's fun. But we may not have a holiday party if our sales aren't on track because the company may not be able to afford it, right? And so that's what we mean is that we may not all need to solve them all and that we just need to prioritize things that are going to help us move the business forward. I'm not saying that holiday parties aren't fine. I love holiday parties. I think they're wonderful. But let's make sure we take them in the right priority. That's all.
Thou shalt live with it, end it, or change it. Anything we want to add about that?
Yeah, I think the only thing that I want to add is once a decision is made, commit, right? That's what it means, live with it, right? And so that's what we have to do. We have to figure that out. Don't let it linger in limbo, right? Like make a decision, either commit to it, end it or change it, whatever it might be. And again, those can loop around and loop around and loop around, right? So we made a decision. Oops, not the right decision. Change it, great, or just we're not doing this, period. We're just not going to do this thing. So
the next one kind of reminds me of how you emphasize certain words in a sentence. So you've seen that let's eat grandma thing, right?
Yes.
Let's eat, comma, grandma, or take the comma out, let's eat grandma.
Correct.
Which has two totally different connotations, right? So thou shalt choose short-term pain and suffering, or thou shalt choose short-term pain and suffering. I think the latter is where you want the emphasis, right?
Absolutely where we want the emphasis. So thank you for that clarity. I'm looking at my sheet of paper and I'm like, well, I forgot the comma. So, and for sure. So the potentially decisions that you make will hurt. So I was just working with a team and they made a staffing change that had to have several people go back deep into the weeds because of the letting go of this person. When they did, they realized, including the owner, had to go into the weeds. And then what they learned is that this person wasn't as magnificent as they thought, that their personality wasn't conducive or wasn't the same as everybody else. We're getting into some cultures and some, long story short, rip the Band-Aid. That's what we're talking about, the short-term pain, right? If we go slowly on the Band-Aid, it hurts, right? If we just go whop and rip it, it hurts for a while. And that's what we're kind of getting at, is that the best decisions hurt at first, but it is about discipline, accountability, really getting there. And then, again, this was one is about a culture fit, a core value fit. And then what I told people, the one that hurts the most is usually people decisions. We often find out afterwards that they just weren't as good as it were. We find out I'll use examples. They found out from their customers. They heard from their staff. They heard from vendors. Like this guy, I was wondering when you were gonna.
Oh my. Can you imagine hearing that from a client? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. But again, thou shalt make a decision, right? Thou shalt change it, live with it, right? All of the things we've talked about. So.
And thou shalt enter the danger. Be brave, I guess, is the point, because the other side of it pays off.
The other side of it pays off, and we're leaders in this organization that you're listening to at this podcast. It feels uncomfortable. And as leaders get comfortable feeling uncomfortable, there are decisions that are uncomfortable. And so enter the danger, find out the facts, right? No secondhand information, dig into it and run towards the tension, not away from it. It's it's probably my favorite one, is that it's hard. It's really, really, really hard. And again, these are all interwoven. You can kind of see how they tune this. But the best leaders run towards that tension, towards that uncomfortableness to figure it out. Not because they're glutton for punishment, right? But that they want to figure it out because they want to make a decision for the greater good, to deal with everything on the back end that will be helpful, as they go.
I suppose in an extreme situation, running from the danger, you'll be swallowed by it eventually.
Yeah, for sure, right? If we don't address it, it just gets bigger and bigger, right? It's kind of like the snowball effect. If we stop the snowball halfway down the hill, it's only, 2 feet in diameter. If we let it go to the bottom, it's now 6 feet in diameter. Same problem. It just gets bigger.
Michelle's a skier. She knows about how those
I
things
do know
work.
about snow. I do.
All right, number 10 on the EOS 10 Commandments of Decision Making, thou shalt take a shot.
Yeah, perfect information doesn't exist. And so there are people, I'm one of them, if you belong to and subscribe to Colby, which is a cognitive, the way I behave and the decisions that I make. I'm a huge fact finder. And so I can literally research and trying to find this perfect information to be able to have it all. And so it doesn't exist. You'll never have it all. Do some, but take a shot. It's not always there. Trust your processes, trust your data, right? Not emotions, trust your data, trust your gut sometimes, and just take a shot, because 9 commandments before, right? They all feed into it.
There you are. The 10 Commandments of Decision Making from Michele Mollard, EOS, certified EOS implementer. If some of these made you raise your eyebrows a little bit and say, I could apply some of this in my own situation, but I maybe need a little consultation about that. Contact information is in the show notes. Reach out to Michele, and she can give you some of these nuggets to think about, all the way to working with you to help you work it out. Yes. So do that. EOS Traction for Your Workplace Goals is a podcast with several episodes and more to come. Find them where you find podcasts, subscribe there too, and you'll get a little alert when we drop new episodes, which won't be too much longer. Michele Mollard, we'll be back.
Thank you for having me.